love stories. Hey, welcome back to Love Stories. I'm your host, Cheri Smith, Blue Heart Music. And this is a place where you just might learn a little bit about love while being entertained. So today's topic is actually a very happy story. It's how I met my husband. And you will probably notice that most of my stories are not happy ones. That's because if you date for many years like I did, you get a lot more misses than hits. So this one was obviously the biggest hit of my life. Pretty awesome. But before we get started, I wanted to point out this horrible wall color. Yes, it's like a weird light peach or something. I don't know. I did not choose it. It was here when we bought this house. So I think like a light blue might be a little nicer. What do you think? Well, if you're watching and then at some point in the future, in a few months down the road, maybe I will have a nicer paint color in here. But I digress. Okay, so here's the story of how I met my husband. So this all started, my friends decided that they were going to go camping. They have campers, so not like tent camping, for New Year's Eve up at a ski resort. So I was like, cool. It wasn't that far from my house. It was like an hour drive. So I decided to join them when they invited me along. So I drove up to the ski resort, and as fate would have it, they were full. And they said, sorry, I'm not allowed to let anybody else in. And I was like, please let me in. Of course, I didn't know this would be the night I would meet my future husband, but I was like, please let me in. I said, my friends have saved a parking spot for me. They're already in there. They have their trailers. So the guy took pity on me, I think, because I had driven up by myself, and he said, okay, I'll let you in, but you're the only one. So I get parked, I find my friends, and we have this nice big dinner together in one of the campers, and there's some 17-year-old kid that's there, and he's like somebody's nephew or cousin or something. So I see this kid there, and he's wearing this awful hat. It was one of those green visor beanies, those knit caps you wear for skiing. It has like one of those little like half-inch worthless visors on it. I hated that hat, that style. I always thought it was awful. So, of course I don't say that to this kid, but so he had one of those green knit visor beanies. And so after a while, we all decided to go to the bar. Of course, this 17-year-old doesn't go with us because you have to be 21 to get in the bar. So we go in, and we all just kind of disperse, roaming around like you do at a big party, basically, because it was New Year's Eve. So there's some stairs there. So I go up the stairs, and I start chatting it up with some random guy, and he seems nice. And at some point we decide, hey, let's meet here at midnight and we'll kiss. Because, who doesn't want somebody to kiss at midnight on New Year's Eve? Well, when you're single and looking for love, that's something you might want. So anyway, I decided, okay, this is a great plan. So I continued to just kind of roam around and mingle. I think at some point I was on my way to go to the bathroom, and I see this guy, and it was that 17-year-old with the visor beanie. And I was like, hey, how'd you get in here? You're too legit to quit. So that was my code for, you're 17 and you got in the bar? How did that happen? And the guy was just like, just kind of laughed and had no idea what I was talking about. So a while later, I end up passing by this same guy again with the horrible green knit visor beanie. And this time I realize he is in fact not the 17-year-old kid. He was older than that and adult age, and he was probably wondering why the heck I was like, how'd you get in here? You're too legit to quit. That's something we laugh about now. That was pretty funny. But anyway, so I ended up talking to this guy who ends up being really cool and interesting. and I'm talking to him essentially the rest of the night. So I always felt a little bit bad that I did not go to the stairs and meet the guy I had planned to meet for the kiss at midnight. But, you know, sorry guy on the stairs. I don't even know if he showed up. He might have, but I felt bad that I didn't go, but, you know, obviously with good reason. So anyway, so at the end of the evening, he asked me for my phone number and I gave it to him because I wanted to see him again. So I will tell you about our first date and that phone call another time, but that's also a good story. But we'll save that one for later. So what are some lessons we've learned here? Well, I would say go out into the world. Be open, have fun, you know, give things a chance, be open to possibility. Things are not going to happen if you're just staying at home all the time. So, you know, you got to put yourself out there a little bit. Even if it's like, if you're doing online dating or something, that's still putting yourself out there and going out. So, you know, you just got to be open to possibility and be willing to welcome chance into your life, but also create an opportunity where that can happen. So another lesson is maybe just don't be too zeroed in on looking for a spouse if you are looking for a spouse, because I definitely wanted to get married. I was at a point in my life where I was looking for that, but that night I was just looking for somebody to kiss at midnight. So I think I was maybe just focused on having fun and enjoying myself. And I think that was a big key part of why I ended up meeting my husband. Also, I didn't go off my first impression because I thought he was some 17-year-old. So luckily, I wised up and realized he was not a minor. But anyway. All right, now it's time for your favorite visual aids. Woo! All right, so if you enjoyed this episode, there will be a new episode almost every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And if I miss one, it's only because I am off doing something super, super cool. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Like, what? Where's Cheri? Oh, she's doing something cool. Well, okay, that sounds like Cheri. Cool, awesome. And don't forget to like, subscribe. I need you to subscribe, please. Share with all your friends. And most importantly, I want you to know you are loved. This is Cheri Smith, Blue Heart Music. Thanks for watching Love Stories. I'll catch you next time.